Today's video is a collaboration with Southern Cannibal. He's an awesome narrator, and I know you'll love his videos. His channel link will be in the description below, so go check it out and subscribe. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for stopping by, and as always, thanks for listening.
I've always been a late riser. This whole corona situation has me working from home, so that allows me basically a sleep schedule of my choosing. When I woke up on this morning, it was probably closer to noon. The family wasn't home. This isn't strange, as most of the time the old lady and the kids are off doing their own thing by the time I wake up. But when I went to go make a bagel, I saw that the back door was wide open. I thought that maybe she had taken the kids out back to play, so I went to look, but nobody was there. I kinda just scoffed at her under my breath for leaving the door open, and then closed it. But immediately after turning around right after closing the door, I saw that across the living room that the front door was open too. I could see through the wide open front door that both of the cars were in the driveway, so I went to go see if they were out front. Nope. This made me a bit nervous as both of the cars were in the driveway and both doors were left wide open. I started assuming the worst. Across the street, I saw our neighbor's front door open as well. We're very close with our neighbors, so I just walked over and went in the front door thinking that my family was probably over there. Nope, not a damn trace. Obviously at this point, I started getting panicked. I couldn't find my family, all of my doors were open, and my neighbor's house was in the same exact state. All of their cars were parked as well. I went to walk back across the street to get my phone, and I noticed the house next to mine had their front door wide open too, and the one on the house on the other side. This is when I lost my shit. I felt like I was in a damn horror movie or something. I looked down the street and every single front door that I could see was open and not a damn soul could be found. I went back inside and right to my room to go and get my phone that was charging from the night prior, and as soon as I pull it off the charger and then unlock it, I hear the front door open and then my wife and kids' muffled voices. I sprint to the kitchen to find my wife with bags of groceries in her hands. She just tells me to help her unload them. I ask her where the hell her and the kids have been and how they even went anywhere without taking one of the cars, and she looks at me like I'm stupid. She tells me that she took her car and she's literally been gone for like an hour. I explained to her the entire story and she pretty much just looks at me like I'm stupid. She then asked me if I'm sure it wasn't a dream. I am positive I was not dreaming, absolutely positive. She tells me that she believes me and that we can look into it. But I could just tell that she really didn't, and who can blame her? Typing all this out and going back to read it, I sound like a lunatic, but I don't know where else to tell this story or anyone else who will even listen to me. I think I'm going crazy. I spoke to my buddy across the street as well, and he said that he and the family have been home all day, but there was clearly nobody there when I went to look for mine.
This was a few years ago, but it still makes me feel super weird to even think about. My husband and I went to explore this creepy old house in the middle of the woods of Oregon with our 3 friends. We had our fun exploring it, and then we started to head back, having about a 2-mile hike ahead of us. At some point on the way back, I saw this person sitting down and sobbing. He or she had on really baggy clothes and they looked very dirty. They had their head in their laps, so I couldn't see their face. I had a very strange feeling, and for whatever reason, I just kept walking without ever going over to help. I saw all of my friends looking at it, but we were totally silent. Anyway, we kept walking in total silence, and everyone just felt weird for a few minutes. Finally, one of our friends said something along the lines of, "That guy was really strange." That's where things got really weird. My other friend says, "Guy? I just saw a dog." Well, that eventually led us to all discussing what we saw. I saw the crying person. One of us saw a dog by itself. One saw a man mocking us as we walked by, and the other just saw a sleeping person. I still don't know what to think about it to this day. A year or so back, I had a friend request of someone on Facebook, and so did my husband. I have no idea who she was, and I didn't recognize any of her photos. My husband didn't recognize her either, but as she had lots of mutual friends, including my father-in-law, I accepted it. Here's the weird thing. She apparently went to the church, youth group, and most church events with both of us. She is the same age as us as well. She went to school with my husband and his sister. Everyone else knows her, except us. While I dredged through her Facebook looking for photos of her as a teen, no recognition at all. I literally have no memory of her, neither does my husband, but she vividly remembers us. She can recount stories about things that we used to do together. I remember the things we did, but not her. And here's where it gets stranger. I found an old address book with her name, phone number, and address in it from that time. And she has photos of all of us together. I'm sick with strep throat, and it's currently almost 2 a.m. here. My mom is usually up late with her 11-month-old baby. I texted my mom asking her to bring me 3 water bottles so I wouldn't have to get up and feel dizzy. She texted me about 5 minutes later saying my bedroom door is locked and she can't get in. So I get up and there are 3 water bottles sitting at the door. I assumed she left them there for me since she couldn't get in the door. So whatever, I lay back down and try to go to sleep. Not even 5 minutes later, she comes back in my room with 3 more water bottles in her hand. She looks at my nightstand and says something along the lines of, "Oh, someone brought you water already." I look at her confused and I tell her she brought them to me, and she said no. She was with the baby the whole time trying to get him to sleep. I never texted anyone else to bring me anything, and even if I did, everyone except my mom should be asleep right now. So either I'm hallucinating, my mom is losing her mind, or a demon decided to help a sick girl out and bring her some water. A few years before my husband and I married, we had a friend who lived on the east side of town in a duplex with his girlfriend. They had planned a cookout with us and some friends, and all of us were out buying goods and brews to take with us. On the way over to their house, my husband and I called to see if they were home yet, but they were also on their way at the time. We arrived first and parked on the sidewalk area and noticed an empty parking space inside the duplex lot. We figured it would be the spot our friends would use, so we left it empty for them. We sat in the car watching EDM clips and show footage while we waited, and about 4 minutes passed before we saw the headlights of a car coming our way. We saw the car pull up into the duplex lot and take the empty space. It was our friend's make and model, same tan sedan that he always drove. We saw the lights go off, and my man and I started exiting our car and opened the trunk to take out the beers and steaks. We walked to the duplex and noticed that the empty parking space from before was actually still empty. It didn't make sense. We started wondering why it would be empty after we had just seen our friend's car park in it, backlights and all. Yet here it was, empty. We stood in the parking lot looking confused and wondering what the hell happened, recalling how we both saw them parking. My husband even recalling his friend's face in the window beside his girlfriend. Then it gets weirder. The same car pulled up in the same path with the same make and model and our friends inside of it just as before. They pulled into the empty space and turned off the car in the exact same way and got out of the exact same car and walked towards us to say that we beat them to it. My husband and I are completely confused. How could the same thing happen twice in front of our eyes? When we got back into the house, we told them what we saw. They got creeped out too, and we just decided to accept it as a glitch in time and space. To this day, we have no other real explanation, except for that one. I was 13 or 14 when I went for a 2-week stay at a ski resort with a group of classmates. So on a bright and sunny day, I was in the room that I shared with 2 of my mates. I remember telling them that I needed to ask something at the lobby, so I headed for the elevator and opted for the ground floor. The ride downhill was smooth, but when the elevator doors opened and I stepped out of it, I found myself in the middle of the night. The lobby was deserted and dark, its huge windows leaving no doubts as to how late it was. There was no one at the reception stand. Luckily, the elevator was still working and had its lights on. I didn't hesitate to go back to my room. The elevator made it to my floor just as smoothly, but when the doors opened into a long, well-lit hall, I saw my classmates running towards me on the walls. A couple of moments later, I found myself sitting on my bed, fully clothed, with my classmates sitting by my side asking questions. The strange part of it is that one of them, who I know better and who I maintained contact with for some years after school, always refused to talk to me about that day. I'm in my 30s now, but that day still somewhat bothers me, as I cannot come up with a sound explanation. Was I drugged? Sounds near impossible in those circumstances. Neither can I recall having any side effects like headaches or vomiting, or vice versa, like being extremely happy and lightheaded. That wall run thing resembles the Matrix, of course, and although I cannot remember if I had seen it at the time, it could have been entirely possible. Was it just a dream? Hardly so. I had 3 dreams in my life that felt extremely vivid, to the point that I tend to believe it was rather me allowed to see some sort of astral plane or whatever you call it, than merely just dreams. But that experience felt otherwise. This happened around 2008. I was working full-time at an electronics store that no longer exists. It was a small store, and usually only 2 staff members were taking care of the store at any given moment. My coworker just left for lunch, and I was by myself taking care of 2 customers. Suddenly I saw the lights from the ceiling flicker just a little, and then everything went pitch black. This was like a whole second or maybe more. I couldn't see anything, not even the customer right in front of me. When the lights came back on, it was sudden, and the customer asked, "What the hell was that?" I immediately responded that maybe the lights went out, and he said, "No, this was pitch black. I couldn't even see my hand." He started talking to the other customer, who replied that he didn't see anything. I kept calm because customer number 1 was starting to raise his voice and was going completely bananas. He told me that I was stupid to believe that it was a normal blackout. Customer 1 didn't purchase anything, he just left the store. Then I proceeded to help customer 2, and at the end of the transaction he said, "I didn't see anything because it was pitch black. It wasn't the ceiling lights. Take care." Then he left. I tried to explain the event to my coworker, but he didn't believe me. We checked the security cameras, but nothing was captured except for customer 1 going bananas and leaving the store, and the transaction of customer 2. I have 4 kids. I know I have 4 kids. But recently, I just feel like there should be another one, but it's missing. When we go out, I head count and get flustered because I can't find the extra one. I have to consciously remind myself that there are only 4, but my heart just doesn't believe it. Well, I just put it down as one of those weird feelings and I push it aside. But then, my parents sent money to my kids. They sent $500. I called them and asked them why they put in so much. They were confused and said that they told me they were sending $100 per kid. I reminded them that I only have 4 kids. They were silent for a moment and then just kind of laughed and said they must be getting old because they were thinking there were 5. Then tonight my daughter walks into the lounge room and said, "I know we're all here, but our family feels small." My son agreed. I hadn't said anything to anyone about my feelings lately because they already think I'm ancient and forgetful at 40. Does anyone else ever have these feelings? I'm writing this on behalf of my mom. A number of years back, I had this strange occurrence at around 11 p.m. I went outside to take out the trash. Of course, it was pitch black. Just as I was about to head back in, the sky became really bright. I looked up and sure enough, it was daytime, apparently. I stood there admiring what I had witnessed, and people came out of their houses questioning what just happened. After about 3 minutes, it was almost like the sun got switched off and everything was pitch black again, as it should have been. Needless to say, after having her own experiences and reading some, she's a firm believer that our reality is in fact some sort of computer simulation. Last night was New Year's Eve here on my side of the world. My boyfriend isn't much of a party goer, so I was out with my family for a while partying. Around 10 o'clock, I say goodbye to everyone and head over to my boyfriend's house so I can ring in the new year with him. I feel like it's important to mention that it would have taken me 2 minutes to travel to my boyfriend's from the bar I was at. I get to my boyfriend's house no later than 10:15. We chat and smoke for a while before laying down to watch TV. We're laughing pretty hard at the show we're watching for a while, but I didn't pay attention to the time. After a bit, I look at my phone again and I'm surprised to see 11:11 p.m. already. I figured we had just gotten into our show. Time flies when you're having fun. I made a mental note not to forget about the time, so I kept checking. And then I happily announced that we only had 5 minutes to go. My boyfriend took my phone from me and we shut off the computer and laid in the dark, because we knew we would be able to hear his clock chime. His clock is broken, so the chime is really just a louder than normal tick, but we knew what sound to listen for. So we're laying there and we hear the louder than average tick. We kiss and tell each other Happy New Year. My boyfriend picks up the phone to double check, and of course, it says 12 a.m. Wednesday, January 1st. We were waiting for the fireworks, but only maybe 1 or 2 went off, which was weird, but it wasn't that surprising, because it is a very small town. We continue about our business, bringing in the new year, and about an hour later, we got out of bed again. This is when it got weird. I went for my phone to see if I had any messages before I went to bed. Before I could unlock the phone, I saw the time. 11:45 p.m., Tuesday, December 31st. I locked and unlocked my phone several times, assuming my screen had temporarily frozen or something. My boyfriend hadn't noticed anything was weird yet, so I grabbed his phone. 11:45 p.m., Tuesday, December 31st. I checked my computer as well, and every single electronic device, including his old wall clock, told us that it was an hour and 15 minutes earlier than it should have been. By now I was certainly expecting it to be around 1 a.m., and I was baffled. Not to mention, I knew for a fact that the last time I looked at a clock, it had been 11:55 p.m. When I pointed it out to my boyfriend, he just said, "Oh, well, that's a little weird, right?" I agreed, and we laughed a little bit and then didn't say anything else about it. I laid down, trying to rationalize it, but I still don't have any actual explanation. Later, though, I think is the weirdest part. We were laying down again, about to go to sleep, when the fireworks show started. A big one, bigger than my town usually puts together. After they started going off, I confirmed with my phone that yes, apparently it was midnight again. No fireworks when we thought it was midnight, but the second time got the biggest firework display this town has ever seen. Everyone brought in the new year an hour later than my boyfriend and I did, and I'm very confused. I woke up and went around town, and everyone's been telling me the same thing happened to them. Almost everyone's phones and clocks experience this strange time switch. Anyone else have these moments where you're just walking down the street or sitting somewhere, and all of a sudden everything flickers to complete black for a split second, almost like a blink, but you know it's not a blink. It's like God turned off all light for a second and then turned it back on. This has been happening on occasion for years, and everyone I asked about it said that they have no idea what I'm talking about. I do remember one time when I was walking with some friends and it happened. I never said anything at first, but two of them asked if everyone else saw everything go black for a second. So if two others saw this and we were outdoors, what could it be? This was a few years ago when I was in college. I was talking with one of my professors in the hallway of their office suite. It was very narrow, and I was blocking the door to the office of one of my other professors. He came in and said, "Excuse me, Lauren," so he could get by, and I said, "Oh yeah, sorry, Dr. K." And I watched him go into his office. I left immediately, since I had just wrapped up the conversation with the first professor, and went with one of my friends to the dining hall. When we walked in, I saw Dr. K in the front of the line taking his food from one of the grill stations. I had just seen him walk into his office and sit down. I went straight to the dining hall. So how did he beat us by enough time to wait in line, have his food cooked, and be on his way out without even passing us? It was the only time in my life I felt like I lost my mind, and to this day, I still think about it. This happened many years ago. My then partner had parents that lived in Scarborough, England, in which we would visit quite often. Because I wasn't from there, when we did visit, we would go sightseeing because there's a lot of history in that area. His father was high up in the local council and had quite a lot of local knowledge, so we knew good places to visit. On one visit, they asked if we wanted to go to Ravenscar, which is 10 miles north of Scarborough, and has quite of a backstory. Originally, it was used by the Romans as a signal station. In more modern times, 1890, it was owned by a company and family who wanted to turn the area into another holiday resort. They laid down all the roads and drains, etc., but then they went bankrupt, leaving it as a ghost town which is now a tourist spot with only a hotel and golf course left. So his parents drove my partner and I there one afternoon. It was cool because as we drove through the area, we could see the roads and the marked out areas for buildings. There were pavements and drains and all, and it was pretty eerie to see that it was just abandoned, and it looked like it had only just been abandoned. We got out and had a walk around, and it fascinated us both. About 3 years later, we revisited with my two children. They were excited because we told them that we'd take them to Ravenscar and have a walk around a ghost town. My partner drove, and when we arrived, we were confused, as we couldn't find the entrance when we remembered it was very obvious last time. We drove around for a bit, and just seeing fields and nothing more and not being able to find it, we went to a tourist information center. We were shocked to find out that we were in the right place all along. We explained to the lady that what we saw 3 years ago was very, very different to what was there now. She looked at us like we were insane and told us it had never been like we explained. We walked around the site and there was pretty much nothing but grass. There was absolutely nothing that resembled what we both saw previously. By now the kids also thought we were insane because we had described something that didn't exist. My partner and I were both confused, and after returning to his parents' house, we asked them what they saw. They also looked at us like we were insane. It seems something odd happened that day. Both my partner and I saw something very different to what was actually there, and to this day, I still can't explain it. My mom was sitting on the couch tonight, and I was standing next to her to the right with my phone on the armrest. I clicked open my phone to show her something and quickly typed in my passcode, with the phone still on the armrest. She very casually said, "That's your wedding picture," and pointed to the screen. I asked her what she meant, and she said, "Your lock screen. That's your wedding picture." My lock screen is just a picture of some palm trees from my trip to California. My home screen is also just a different picture of trees. I flipped through all of my tabs, and there were no photos open that could have even remotely resembled a wedding picture. When I showed her my lock screen again, the picture of the palm trees, she seemed a bit shocked and said it was weird. She just said, "I saw someone in a wedding dress," after I questioned her another 10 times about it and eventually dropped it. When she initially said it, I felt like I saw it too. It was the weirdest thing. I feel like I saw it, but it instantly left my memory and I couldn't remember what the picture looked like. I believe her that she saw it, but I'm only 18 and I've never been married. Could this be a glitch that showed me my future? A few years ago, I was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework while home alone with the back door at my back. It's the door my family uses, which leads to the garage. I was startled when the door abruptly opened. It's loud and distinct, and I heard my sister on the phone laughing and saying, yeah, I'll do it again. Even though I said hi, she closed the door. It was weird because I didn't hear her go back down the 2 wooden steps leading to the door that creaks loudly, and when the heavy door shut, it didn't reverberate through the wall, which causes the glasses in the cabinet to jingle. When I got up to check, I opened the door and was shocked because the automated garage door was shut. I would have heard it if it opened and closed. It's pretty loud. On top of that, she wasn't even home. It was so real. I could hear her voice so clearly. I heard the door open, I heard it shut, but no other indicating noise that the door was ever opened.